again, blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, promoting our schools, securing our future. We are at the Lee Pesky Learning Center here in Boise. Thanks to our friends at CapEd Credit Union and Team Mazda Subaru. Do want to remind you that it is time once again to win Kevin Miller's cash, and we're very excited for you to win up to $5,000. Listen daily, 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. to Kevin Miller, and then 3 p.m. to Sean Hannity. And today's Kevin Miller money cash code word is for the 6 a.m. hour dinner. It's a little early for dinner, but if you're working third shift, going home, you're ready for some dinner. For more details on how you can win, go to KIDOTalkRadio.com and log in. The more words you get, the more chances you are to win up to $5,000. We call it Kevin Miller's Cash, K. Millie's Cash, but we call it your opportunity to win on KIDO Talk Radio. Also, remember, the Penny Patrol is underway. We're looking for your pennies, your coins, your change. Had a chance to run into Dick Scott yesterday from Tom Scott Toyota and Honda, and do want to mention that. And he said, I'm collecting my pennies, Kevin Miller, and I'm waking up early. Okay, well, not just pennies, but also your dimes, nickels, dollars, supporting the Boise Rescue Mission. On Monday, we'll be living at the Walmart in Nampa, Idaho. That's right, living at the Walmart in Nampa, Idaho, once again, till Saturday, collecting goods, food, non-perishable items, cash to help fund summer programs for the Boise Rescue Mission. Won't you help us help Treasure Valley families? More details at boiserm.org or KIDOTalkRadio.com. Can't wait. You know, we kind of call it my spring-summer vacation because I get away from the broadcast center, and it's just wonderful. Thank you to the Walmart, Garrity and Franklin Boulevard for that in Nampa, Idaho. We are promoting our schools, securing our future. Once again, every Friday we do this. 20 schools a year we go to. 20 schools, learning centers, places to really empower people, right? That's what it's all about. Joining us now is Evelyn Johnson, CEO, Lee Pesky Learning Center. And Evelyn, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin.
Good to have you with us here at KIDO Talk Radio. When we're taking a look at the Learning Center, can you give us the history of it? Because there are a lot of new people coming in. You know, you have a lot of folks, I won't say that it's me, you know, that live out yonder in Meridian or Nampa and might not be so Boise-centric. This is a center for everybody, though.
That's right. Lee Pesky Learning Center was founded about 22 years ago by Alan and Wendy Pesky. Their son Lee struggled his whole life with learning disabilities, and they had a very difficult time trying to find the services that they needed for him. So in 1995, unfortunately, Lee passed away from an inoperable brain tumor, and Alan and Wendy founded the center in his honor. And since then, we've been working with students, families, schools, and our community across Idaho to provide learning services to students who struggle with learning and attention challenges.
You know, I had a friend of mine who said, say what you want, but boy, they really have done wonders for my kids. And they just went on and on singing the praises of what you do here.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we have a wonderful staff here of psychologists, education specialists, social workers and counselors, and a professional development team. And they work tirelessly with our students and families, again, to provide those interventions, whether that's academic, whether it's social emotional interventions, to really help students who learn differently and don't necessarily get the services that they need in schools. And we work with them to figure out what their unique needs are and provide those services for them here.
Sure. So for parents listening right now throughout the Treasure Valley, let's say they have an issue. Maybe it's English. Maybe you're, well, I'm a little late for me. I was going to say in your mid-50s and still struggling with grammar. But regardless of that, if you have someone who has an issue, what can they do? How can they get a hold of you?
So they can look us up online,
Right.
our website. If they Google Lee Pesky Learning Center, they can give us a call. Our number is 208-333-0008. They can contact any one of our front desk or information staff, who can then take a listen to what their concerns and issues are, and we can connect them with the right people.
Sure. And so let's say you make the call, you talk to folks. How does that work as far as helping folks? Because education, at one point, Evelyn, as you know, is a great liberator, but for a lot of us, especially kids, it can be very intimidating.
Sure. I'm not sure I understand your
Right,
exact
but
question.
I mean, as far as the process of helping the
Sure.
kids.
So most of our families come in and they explain to us what exactly they're struggling with. And through that interview and diagnostic process, then we're able to better understand what they're looking for. So let's say a student is struggling with learning to read and it's causing a lot of challenges for them in school. Our psychologists and our counselors can listen to that family story and figure out exactly the type of evaluation and assessment we need to do. And then through that process, we get a much better understanding of the way that that child is experiencing learning and differences, and then connect them with the interventions that they need.
Well, and you've answered the question better than I asked it. So when you take a look at so many people moving into the Treasure Valley, has that really impacted what you all do here as far as, schools are overcrowded, so getting that individual attention is tough? Have you seen more people reaching out to you here?
We've certainly been growing over the last several years, not only at our center, but across the state. In addition to working with families one-on-one here at our center, we also have a professional development team that works out in our schools, so works side by side with teachers to help build their capacity to work with a more diverse student body so that they can deliver evidence-based reading instruction, evidence-based math and writing instruction to better meet the needs of all of their students.
So when we're talking about early education in Idaho, it is such a hot-button issue. Where does the Lee Pesky Center fall into that?
So for us, we see early education as really a strong way to prevent learning challenges down the road. And so our team works with early care providers to build their capacity to provide high quality learning experiences. So right now, for example, we're working with over 100 preschool teachers across the state to help them deliver early literacy skills, early numeracy skills, and high quality early learning environments for very young children.
How important is that? Again, we hear it from the politicians, we hear it from other folks. And then we go back to, well, I never had kindergarten, or I would never say that. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. But you know what I'm saying, convincing the public that the sooner you start children with early education, it pays off in the long run.
Yeah, I don't think you can overstate the importance of high-quality early learning experiences. We find in our own work that when we are able to support those early care providers in delivering more high-quality learning experiences for their students, they enter our school system with higher school readiness, higher reading readiness, and so then our K-12 system can continue them on that trajectory.
Are you surprised, and Evelyn, you're probably not, but I think for a lot of folks that move into Idaho, that it's still a challenge for people to graduate high school. And that is such a challenge. You have, I don't know, 50, 60%. And Treasure Valley is a little different than the rest of the state, but still you have people that don't graduate high school. And that's a problem that the governor and other folks have talked about for years.
It is surprising in this day and age because it's hard to imagine what life after high school or not finishing high school will look like. So many jobs require such a high level of education and training. I do think that the more we can front load the system, right? So the more we can provide those early quality learning experiences and get more students off to a very strong start, we'll see the benefits of that later on down the road.
Right. Get them young.
Exactly.
Get them young.
Yeah.
Finally, your partners in this?
We have so many partners.
Right.
I don't know how long your show is.
Well, how about only a couple here? Because we do have to go on to the news of the day. Yes.
Our main partners in our early learning work are the Idaho Association for the Education of Young Children, Treasure Valley YMCA, the United Way, the Head Start Association, and any number of school districts that we're working with across the state.
Evelyn, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us, by the way.
Oh, thank you for being here.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Some big news of the day, the latest concerning the Mueller report and Michael Flynn. Let's get the latest from Fox News Radio on KIDO Talk Radio.
Parts of the Mueller report relating to former White House National Security Advisor Michael Flynn could soon be made public under a ruling by U.S. District Court Judge Emmett Sullivan in response to a motion filed by the Washington Post. This is the first time a federal judge has ordered the Justice Department to release parts of the report that had been under wraps. Under the ruling, the information, reported to be a transcript of a phone call between Flynn and a Russian ambassador, would be posted to a public website by May 31st. In Washington, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
So the Flynn report continues to resonate again and again and again. By the way, in other top news of the day at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina proposed a four-part plan to reform the immigration system to put an end to the migrant crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border. Now, this bill proposed by Graham requires all asylum applications to be submitted by the migrant at the American consulates in their home country. It also lengthens the amount of time families with minor children can be detained without separation from 20 days to 100 days. Boy, I bet people will be talking about this one. Senator Graham's bill would change the law to allow minors to be safely and securely deported back to their home countries. I don't know how that works. NBC News reports it would also hire 500 additional immigration judges to hear a 900,000 backlog of asylum claims. What do you think of Graham's proposal? Is there a better idea? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning here. And speaking of immigration, Jared Kushner went to Capitol Hill yesterday. And in that proposal, he's talking about reforming the immigration system as well, turning the immigration system from a family-based program to a merit-based program. Here is our own Griff Jenkins with the latest from Fox News Radio on KIDO Talk Radio.
For the first time in decades, President Trump is attempting a major overhaul of the nation's legal immigration system, shifting it from a family-based one to a merit-based one that rewards skills and education. Right now, only 12% of green cards are rewarded based on employment and skills, while 66% are based on family ties. This new plan flips that, increasing merit to 57% while reducing family to 33%. And the plan has fierce border security measures as well, with investment in physical barriers, technology, and manpower, but does not address DACA or temporary work visas or the undocumented population already here. And that's why Speaker Pelosi is blasting it, issuing this statement saying this dead-on-arrival plan is not a remotely serious proposal. Now, this comes as Senator Lindsey Graham unveiled his own legislation this week advising the president to find a way to work with Democrats.
There we have it. Can't we all work and get along? More coming up on that. Coming up next, one presidential candidate that you will not see doing a town hall meeting at Fox News at the Fox News channel. Remember, we at the Lee Pesky Learning Center promoting our schools, securing our future, thanks to CapEd Credit Union and Team Mazda Subaru. Kevin Miller in the morning on KIDO Talk Radio. And here we are. Welcome back. By the way, if you're a big fan of the Grumpy Cat, I have bad news for you. The feline internet sensation Grumpy Cat has died. Grumpy's Twitter feed announcing the death early this morning say she suffered from complications of an infection and died in the arms of her owner, Tabitha Bunsen. Bunsen did frequent appearances with the media along with the Grumpy Cat, like this 2016 interview clip from the Associated Press.
Yeah, everyone's always asking what makes her grumpy. So she's made this blog post making her list of top 10 pet peeves. Obviously, her list is a lot longer than that. But she names a couple things like being groomed and her food bowl being empty and social media, of course.
Boy, could you imagine that? Who would have thought photos of a cat would have such an impact? And you're talking about a multi-million-dollar feline. Yes, Grumpy Cat is dead. And, again, you look at the calendars and everything else. It's amazing. A tough one for pet owners when they have to do that, having been through that. And how many of us can relate to having to put down one of our beloved pets? A sad day here for people that really kind of like that vibe of the Grumpy Cat. Traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Let's get you to work safely on time. Wet outside. What's the latest, Dave Burnett? And Kevin Miller in the morning, promoting our schools, securing our future at the Lee Pesky Learning Center here in Boise. Thanks to CapEd Credit Union and Team Mazda Subaru. We're joined by Beth Oppenheimer, Executive Director of the Idaho Association for Education of Young Children. Beth, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Good to have you here. So when we take a look at early childhood education in the Gem State, how are we performing?
Well, not great, Kevin, honestly. Idaho is one of 4 states that does not invest in preschool opportunities for our young children. And the impact of that is pretty tough. Right now, what we know is about half of our children in Idaho are entering kindergarten without those basic foundational skills that they need to be successful. And the strain that that's putting on our K through 12 system is pretty tough.
Now you see some cities, whether it's Boise or maybe Caldwell, trying to develop that on their own. Have you had a chance, well, I'm sure you have, to take a look at the progress of individual cities or school systems that are investing, that are trying to do that?
Absolutely. There are several communities throughout Idaho who have taken it upon themselves to invest in early childhood education, and the results that we're seeing are tremendous. Idaho City is a really great example. Idaho City has been offering preschool to their community for 18 years, and they have data to show that the impacts of school readiness as well as graduation rates has increased tremendously because of that.
We examine early childhood education, and maybe this is a bad phrase. You're an educator, so please feel free to correct me on this. The danger of just putting somebody in front of a television, a monitor, and just saying, well, you know, that'll keep them occupied, as opposed to teaching them the alphabet or
Sure.
flashcards or something like that.
Sure. So what early childhood education provides is it provides that a high quality program. It's really about the adult-child interaction. And you really need to develop those skills with children with that adult-child interaction. It's much different than just sitting in front of a television and, let's say, learning your ABCs that way. Children need the skills, the social-emotional skills, and they need that language development that you can really only get from that adult-child interaction.
Well, when we take a look, and you know, it's funny, I've had a few friends of mine who've moved back here from, I believe, Arizona, and they were saying, boy, it's tough to get their kid, I think 2 years old, 3 years old, maybe 4 years old, into any type of educational program.
Mm-hmm.
Either their cities don't offer it, their communities don't offer it, or you have private facilities that have this incredible waiting list. What about people that don't have the resources to pay for a private school?
Well, that's the challenge, Kevin, and that's why we certainly advocate for more investments in early childhood education, because what happens is we have a lot of families that either can't find it, as you were talking about, or they can't afford it. The average cost of a 4-year-old in a private preschool program, and this is average, is close to about $5,000. Of course, in some communities, such as in Boise and the Treasure Valley, that cost is significantly higher. And so for the families that can't afford it, we really struggle with finding programs and quality interactions that way.
Well, this has always been a topic in the legislature.
Uh-huh.
Your thoughts? Here's a chance to lobby the newsmakers that if they're awake, would like to hear your side. Nonpartisan. You're talking about, taking care of kids. Now, again, everything comes down to money. Mm-hmm. But the idea of the juice versus the squeeze when we're talking about this.
Sure. Well, we have been pushing this football down the field for several years, and we have talked a lot, especially the last administration, talking a lot about our K through 12 system and the challenges that we're having in our K through 12 system. And we're spending a lot of time on the other end of the spectrum in terms of go on, et cetera. But what we really need to be doing is looking at that front end. Evelyn talked about that a little bit this morning. And because half of our children are coming into kindergarten without those basic skills, they're already having to play catch up on that very first day of kindergarten. And so if we really shifted our lens and looked at investing more in those early years, it would really reduce the strain that we have on our K through 12 system. More children would be able to enter kindergarten ready to go, ready to learn, which would, of course, be successful for our K through 12 system. So as we continue to talk about education in Idaho and put emphasis on improving our educational system here, we really need to be looking at that front end, because otherwise we're going to continue behind the 8 ball every single day that those kids walk into school.
Now, as far as, we always see these places, and this is a dumb question, so I'm going to give you my disclaimer.
There are no dumb questions.
Oh, you haven't spent a lot of time with me, Beth, but the difference between, because again, most people drive around, they'll see like a child care place.
Uh-huh.
and they'll think, okay, well, that's where the kids go to learn. The differences between an early childhood center or a school and a child care place.
So I think it's important to understand that children are learning in every environment, right? So children are learning whether they're at home, whether they're in childcare, whether they're in preschool, wherever they are. The emphasis that we really need to have is that we need high quality environments for our children. And those that can afford it oftentimes will, but sometimes those that can't afford a high quality early childhood education program, they don't have the access or they can't afford it. So it's really about the environment that they're in and the types of interactions that they have with adults. And so that's really what we need to be looking at.
Finally, your advice to parents of young children listening right now.
Well, my advice to parents with young children is if you look at the program that you're in, a lot of parents are choosing childcare because they have to work, right?
Or
and
looking
so,
for a program.
Looking for a program. So look for a high quality program. Look at the teachers in the program. That's where Lee Pesky comes in. Look at the teachers and make sure that they have the skills and the knowledge they need to be working with their children. If you're at home with your child, make sure that you're talking with them, that you're reading with them every day, and our kids will be great.
Beth Oppenheimer, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, KIDO Talk Radio time, 6:31. Let's find out what's happening in your world. Good morning, Maggie. Okay, Kevin Miller in the morning here. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I want to thank Cap Ed Credit Union and Team Mazda Subaru for their sponsorship, their promotion of this. Don't forget, coming up on Monday, that's right, Monday, we'll be living at the Walmart in Nampa once again, promoting the Boise Rescue Mission. And if you would like to help, look, today it's a little wet, a little rainy. What happens if you don't have any food, you don't have any shelter? You see these folks on the road. Thankfully, we have a social safety net that is not dependent on government funds. It's called the Boise Rescue Mission. Maybe you're new to the Treasure Valley. Maybe you're new to this program. Check out the information now, KIDOTalkRadio.com, Boise Rescue Mission, BoiseRM.org. And collect your pennies, your dollars, your cents. We would love to have a big, whopping donation for our friends at the Boise Rescue Mission. Coming up, we'll talk a little bit about one senator turning down the Fox News town hall. But again, we are at the Lee Pesky Learning Center, promoting our schools, securing our future. Dr. Noreen Womack joining us from St. Luke's. Ma'am, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you for being here. When we take a look at early childhood education, how crucial is it to, I guess, our overall development? You're a pediatrician, so you would know that more than most, ma'am.
Yes, so it is absolutely crucial. The development that happens in the early years does not happen at any other time in a human's life. It's really fascinating. When a human is born, we actually have the least developed brains of the entire animal kingdom.
Some of us still do.
That's right. So what happens is the reason why we're so underdeveloped at birth is because we do not give up any of our brain circuitry to survival. We're completely dependent on our parents. And that way we can build our brains from completely scratch. So because we're so underdeveloped at birth, what we need to do is then have some rapid development to catch up, right? So we develop neuronal or nerve connections to the tune of 700 neuronal or nerve connections every single second in those first early years of life, and that doesn't happen at any other time. So that translates into billions of nerve connections by the end of this period. So that by the age 5, by the time someone is 5 years of age, 85 to 90% of their brain is already developed.
So the idea of you're never too young to learn, I mean, obviously that's the crucial time before 5.
Absolutely. And I should point out that the other part of that is that no learning and no development can occur without secure emotional attachments to an adult caregiver. So that is a crucial piece of learning, especially in those early years.
Boy, we look at our society today, if people had the time and the resources to do that, it's so crucial. Just hearing you, Dr. Womack, you invest now or you pay later, but the idea of, is there a proper way to balance that? I mean, I think most parents, I'm sure all parents listening, if they could, would, invest in their children, would be there all the time to make that connection and to encourage them to learn.
Absolutely. That balance is different for every family. For instance, for my family, obviously I'm a working mother. So I really did need that quality childcare and quality preschool so that I could work. And I don't think I'm alone in that. And so for my family, what that looked like was quality education. And one other way to think about this brain development, think about how we learn language, because that's really what humans are all about in terms of, separating us from the other people in the, animals in the animal kingdom. So think about a 1-year-old. They only have about 2 words, right? They can say mama and dada.
Right.
A 2-year-old has about 20 plus words. And then by the age 5, when you have all of this development already in place, 2,000 plus words. So you're talking about from 1 year to 5 years of age, you're going from 2 words to more than 2,000.
That's indescribable that you've broken this down. So as a working mother who has had to find childcare and such, any tips? I mean, that has to be so, for lack of a better term, emotionally draining, because here you are entrusting the most precious gift that you've been given to these folks. And again, like everything else, you establish bonds and everything else, but you want to make sure you're literally, not from a financial point of view, but from an emotional, educational point of view, you're getting that return on investment.
Absolutely, Kevin. When every day that I work, I look in the parents' eyes and they ask me, what can I do to help my child be as successful as possible? And I get, so in terms of tips, I actually turn to my colleagues at the Idaho Association for Education of Young Children. I tell them, try to find quality childcare. Here in Idaho, what that looks like at this point in time is going to that website. There is something called Idaho Stars that they'll probably talk about later. You want to make sure that, they're getting that quality education, and that's usually what I do.
Right. And Dr. Womack, when you think about whether it's here on KIDO Talk Radio or people having a conversation at home, they are blessed with the birth of a child, then maybe another child, and initially the mom stays home, then she goes back to work. Maybe she's got some family that can help, but sooner or later they have to, get that educational step moving. Maybe they don't live in a community. I mean, again, going through that whole bridge of finding that right place. And then we hear the bad stories as well. So besides Lee Pesky Learning Center, the Association for Education of Young Children, anything that you can say to those young parents or maybe those grandparents that have been thrust into the role?
Absolutely. I say start at home, right? So we pediatricians talk about the 5 R's. And you can start these, at birth. And so those 5 R's are relationships. So again, you need those secure emotional attachments for learning to take place. Routine. Kids at that age really thrive on having a nice schedule, and a routine every day.
Structure.
Absolutely, structure. It makes them feel safe. There's also rhyming, which basically means rhyming and singing and playing with your child. And there's rewarding, because time out is not going to work unless there's time in, right? So you want to reward your child for, appropriate behavior. And then lastly, and what I think is most importantly, is reading to your child every day. And actually that is part of routine, right? Part of schedule. It's part of building relationships, because you're having your child sit on your lap and you're reading. And notice I didn't say ABC Mouse. Notice I didn't say screen time. In fact, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends no screen time under the age of 2, simply because they don't learn from that.
Right. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
I think that's about it.
Okay.
But I appreciate you taking the time for doing this.
No, well, thank you. And again, it is so crucial when we're talking about young children. We're going to go to Eben Brown. Can you hang on for a minute, though? I do want to come back to this. And if people have questions, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning here, promoting our schools, securing our future, from the Lee Pesky Learning Center here in Boise. Again, do want to remind you, Kevin Miller's Cash, listen at 6 a.m., 8 a.m., and 3 p.m. for your chance to win up to $5,000. Joining us now from Fox News Radio on KIDO Talk Radio, Eben Brown. Eben, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us here. So whether it's Alabama, Missouri, or in the halls of Congress, the abortion debate continues around the country. What's the latest?
Well, the latest is there are a number of states that have been pushing newer laws that are intended to curb abortion. Perhaps the most stringent passed yesterday, Alabama, or 2 days ago, rather, in Alabama, and that would be the a near total ban on abortion in its entirety, with the exception of when the mother's life is in immediate danger. That is going to certainly be the focus of a lawsuit, and that's exactly what it was intended to be. This is something that is intended to try to get the abortion debate back to the Supreme Court and have the court reverse or at least review its decision in Roe v. Wade. Something that really hasn't happened with any great success for the pro-abortion crowd, the pro-life crowd. Other states have been filing other stringent abortion laws, not quite as stringent as the one in Alabama. In Missouri today, they are focusing on a law that they're trying to get through the second half of the legislature and get it signed by the end of today, because today is the end of the legislative session in Missouri, and that is a law that would ban abortion at 8 weeks. Georgia notoriously passed one just within the past month. That if a fetal heartbeat is detected, an abortion cannot be performed. This has sparked a lot of outrage in certain groups, especially in Hollywood, where a lot of actors are saying they won't work in Georgia. And that's a big deal because Georgia has a very big filming industry now. A lot of Hollywood productions do shoot in Georgia, including most recent Avengers Endgame. So it's a big and angry debate.
Eben Brown joining us, Fox News Radio, and on KIDO Talk Radio. Even you have Pat Robertson and others saying this has gone too far. Any other reaction that you're aware of, Eben?
Well, a lot of people who are normally pro-life and anti-abortion have expressed some misgivings with the law in Alabama because it makes no exception for cases of rape or incest. And a lot of people who are stringently pro-life have acquiesced on this in the past, saying, all right, look, if it's a case of impregnation through rape or incest, that wasn't exactly a choice matter. So the woman did not choose to become pregnant because of this. So they had been reasonable, I guess, on that to allow that, but or to agree to allow that. But this law does not make those provisions, and that may be, again, a tactical move to see how far they can get in a court. A court could simply strike down that part of the law, saying, all right, you have to allow for cases of rape or incest, but the rest of the law can stand. And that would still be considered a win for the pro-life crowd.
Eben, we appreciate that, and you'll continue to cover the story. Thank you.
You got it.
All right, Eben Brown joining us. Finally, a final question for Dr. Womack. As a pediatrician and as a parent, when you're talking about speaking to someone, one-on-one, what would you say to them, talking to thousands of people right now, to make that extra effort? We know it's frustrating, resources might be tough, but to, give them that motivation, that support to find that school that invest in early childhood education and to take time to read even if you're tired to your kid.
Absolutely. So, every day that I work, this is something that comes up, and we see kids 20 times at least in this early brain development stage. And we do talk a lot about talking to our partners in the community, like the Idaho Association for Education of Young Children. It's just, if they have access to computer, they can go to the website. We do talk about the 5 R's. We do talk about screen time not being helpful in those early years. And we do talk about how there's a difference between education and quality education. But again, I think what we emphasize the most is having really good social emotional attachments to your child, reading to your child. There are some single moms and single parents out there that, work full time, and, we just ask that they really spend that quality time with their child. And that's really the crux of development.
Put down the monitor, pick up a book.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you. You're listening to Kevin Miller on your home for Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio. And really blessed to be here, Kevin Miller in the morning, taking your phone calls. Let's go to R&R. R&R, good morning.
Hey, Kevin.
Hello, R&R.
I don't talk for long periods of time, but I'm just not going to talk about Paulette Jordan because unless she's got her ears on, this one's going to go right through her. You and Eric Trump, thereby President Trump, are connected. I say, for real, we speak for the new Idaho all the way from Boardman, Oregon to the border. We take the whole of that confiscated ship from Korea. We fill it with containers that are now legal to build houses in Idaho, in Ada and Canyon counties. We fill the whole of the confiscated ship from Korea with containers from the China, and we started up the Columbia. And we go clear to Boardman, Oregon. I know this very well. And we download it onto the railroad tracks, and we start building a jail out of that steel containers. And if Jordan's listening, I got the Chinook, the Celilo, the Umatilla, the West Shoshone, the Paiutes, clear to Burns and Hines, and the Nez Perce, okay? If she wants to join forces in the Coeur d'Alenes, she can be in on it. Other than that, here's the last one. If, because
Right.
you got the stones to question.
I don't know if I got the stones anymore, R&R. Thank you for the call. Traffic and weather together. Then we go to Christian and Weezer. Good morning, Dave. Quickly to Christian and Weezer. Christian, good morning. Our time is yours, sir.
Oh, okay. I just got the tail end of your previous guest and the talk about education, and maybe just one point I want to make with my son. He's 8 now, and what worked really well, because it's all, nowadays it's video games, tablets, phones. So if he wants to play a video game or look at a tablet, he has to earn the time by reading or doing math. And I will make you, he has to read for an hour minimum if he wants to play for an hour.
Great point, Christian. Keep it here.